Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth, and you know what? Miss Pundit's pundit tonight, but we still have Mr. Pundit,
Yep.
Jacob Prisner. He dedicated to the program, and Jacob, thank you very much for going out there, staying with the program, even though we moved the Sports Exchange this week only into prime time. Thank you for being a part of this thing.
No problem. Only the second show I've got this week. It's holiday season.
Yeah, well, you know, and I've this is my fourth one here, but I have no problem. At least it's the last one for at least a few days, anyways. And the man
Yeah.
that helped me start the Sports Exchange, George Icorn, 9 million lifetimes ago. Welcome back, my friend.
Oh, good to be back on, Scott. Happy Thanksgiving to all our viewers and listeners.
Yeah, and Rick Curdy,
Thanks for having me back, Scott. Appreciate it.
my pleasure. You've been a fixture for a long time, and you will be until I stop talking and breathing. And last but not least, we do have a JB, not JB Ellis, but smoking Jeremy B. Welcome back, my friend.
Oh, great to be here. Love
This
talking sports or anything at all.
this is his salute to service. So everybody's going to ask me out there, why am I wearing a Miami Hurricanes hat here on this show? Well, guess what? Okay,
You love Mario Cristobal.
well, he's good to work with. I make no bones about that. I have no problem with Coach. He's really pretty good. But the reason why is Candy Ebling and I will be covering the Canes against the Pittsburgh Panthers on Saturday night over at Joe Robbie Stadium. They
Go
call it-
Canes, because I hate the Panthers more.
You know what? Here you go. Yeah. So we'll be doing the 8 o'clock game that night. Of course, it's good that Michigan and Ohio State will be at noon, and FAU. I've already assigned that to one of my writers. I have nothing to worry about that. All right. Well, let me give you an overview of what we're going to talk about. I've got an interesting job security situation I'm going to throw at you, but bear with me on that. And of course, there was a great Miami Dolphins thing that we had last night on Inside the Pigskin that I'm going to carry over, as well as a lot of other interesting topics as well. With that said, okay, I'm going to start on something on an NBA note, but this is one of the most interesting NBA notes. You know, Jake, I'm learning so much about pundit, and I'm starting to get a little bit more creative with some of the stuff I put out there.
Oh, good.
Because you guys happen to rub off me really, really well. And folks, for a lot of you that are tuning in, obviously we are on Facebook Live. And for those of you that are on the audio side, the show can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get an opportunity and you're not subscribed to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel, just go to youtube.com and look for South Florida Tribune and hit the old subscribe button, and then you get all of our remote broadcasts as well as streams and so forth. So we're going to start it off on an NBA note. So entering the season, Gregg Popovich is now in his 27th season.
Oh,
Can you believe that? 27th season with the San Antonio Spurs.
yeah.
The league's other franchises, get this, have gone through 294 head coaches, and every team has had at least 3 coaches during his tenure with the Spurs. Now, here's the most interesting thing I want to bring up to you. Can you only imagine how many coaches the Sacramento Kings have had when you add that number? So, Jacob, you're giving me some interesting body language. I'm going to let you start this one off.
Yeah, I'm giving a good guess. By that time, it had to have been at least 14, 15 coaches. But the biggest thing about it was Gregg Popovich. I don't know how he, over those years, you got to remember how many of the coaches left. I got to wonder how he lasted through, and how if he would have lasted because there was a couple of those that were rings. You know what I'm saying? A couple of those that were rings by itself, but then there were ones that won rings that were gone also. It's just like he's lasted 27 seasons. He's lasted through some very bad, very, very, very bad seasons in the last few years as he's gotten older. But he must have just been seniority. It must have just been kind of grandfathered in, if you get my point. But I always wonder this about, it's like he's gone through a point where people wonder if they want to fire him, if they want anything. I think he's also the greatest of all time.
Right.
After the fact that people found out what Phil Jackson was like, and then they became political. So everything. So there's always been these different type of changes. But overall, Popovich, he's the last of a breed.
Yeah.
He's the last of a breed. We're not going to, because you got to remember, he's the last of the ones that move the ball around, try to get it inside. We don't even see that anymore. Huh?
And play defense.
Yeah. He's the last of that breed, really. But you got to realize now what's becoming a problem with Gregg Popovich is the fact that even though he's one of the all-time greats, played defense, ball movement, he also had Tim Duncan. I feel like in the heart of hearts, he has been looking for another Tim Duncan and has failed. He's been looking for that thing, and then they go for the three-pointers more, and I don't think he quite likes it. I don't think he's built for it.
Yeah, I actually met Gregg Popovich when I was covering the Spurs and the Toronto Raptors when Michigan was taking on Nebraska in the Alamo Bowl. And he's a straight shooter, this guy. And, if you're looking for a guy to give you the most candid quote, you better look somewhere else. He's not doing it. He just simply tells you straight. But you know what? I have the utmost respect for Gregg Popovich. And I thought when he was going to leave that Becky Hammon would have been a potential successor, but she took the job out at the WNBA. Las Vegas Aces, we all know what that happened there. She went out there and won a WNBA championship. Not going to go there, but she did coach in the summer league as well, the men's.
She won that one. She won that one.
That
it's
one
like,
too.
truthfully, you got to wonder who's stopping this really, because because Becky Hammon would have been the perfect choice.
Oh yeah.
It's the same with we bring up Kim Ng, and she was a perfect choice for keeping her around. She was a perfect choice for her, but they gave her a bad opportunity in baseball. This was the perfect choice for an NBA coach. You pick the wrong one to choose for, and she loses. There's not going to be choices for a while. Right. Becky Hammon would have won immediately.
I think so too. Yeah, in fact, not only that too, I believe when he was tossed one game that she ended up filling in for the rest of the game, if I remember correctly. But nevertheless, okay, we'll turn over to Jeremy. Gregg Popovich, some thoughts about him.
Well, he's been there longer than 9 Pistons coaches. I mean, what else can you say? He's a consummate coach as coach. He has that old school feel to him. The problem is the game has evolved past what he can coach.
Right. Good point. Rick?
He's a legend, Hall of Famer. I don't know how many coaches the Hornets have gone through. I think they even moved some from New Orleans. They were the Bobcats, New Orleans. So who knows? But, I mean, what he's done has been amazing. I know the last couple years haven't been good, but I agree with everyone here that the game has changed. I don't think he even likes the NBA right now. Just too much shooting, no defense. It's boring. And I think he's just bored, but he loves to coach. But I'm surprised he's still there, to be quite honest. I thought he would have retired a couple of years ago because he has nothing to prove.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to leave the team in bad shape either. I think he wants to get a turnaround, and he'll leave when he's ready to go. Yeah, go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, the smoking. I'll say this to you. You were bringing up about the game passing by. We talked about this. You know this one, Scott. We talked about this as a subject a 3 weeks ago. Right. We said, what happens with older coaches or older people who, when they were, like, for instance, Tom Landry, we brought this up. Tom Landry, he innovated everything in football. Then one day he got old and just stopped, and he stayed the same. And it's like you have to wonder what happens to old people that just makes them stop innovating. I mean, mind you, look at Popovich. Listen to his political views, whether we agree with them or not. He is completely. His political views are totally for forward thinking, completely through. Yet his basketball is completely. I mean, his basketball. He hasn't gone through any kind of new changes or anything like that. It's like it's completely stopped. What happens with older people that makes them stop? Just innovating, stop thinking, because you're not dead. You can innovate.
Right.
You can still innovate at 80. You can innovate or whatever. I've seen this in my personal thing. You can try. I wonder what happens to older people with that case.
They get set in their ways.
Yeah, right. I was just about to say that. They get set in their ways. George, what do you think about Gregg Popovich? Obviously, the Pistons.
Oh, he's an icon, no question about it, in basketball. I don't care for his political views personally, but that's my opinion. I don't feel it's necessary to bring that into the basketball world, but the sports world. But that's what he does. That's what he is. I think of two guys, Jerry Sloan, and I think of Phil Jackson, that have been around or were around a long time, that were kind of in his class. But even they obviously didn't last as long as Pop did. Just a remarkable record, a remarkable career. He's just he's just so dedicated. And, the ownership and the management of the team has a lot to bringing back that coach year after year after year. They have a lot to say about it. So, I mean, the San Antonio Spurs has been just an awesome franchise for so many years, even going back to the ABA days.
Right.
That team was a great team. So has the game passed him? I don't know if it's passed him on. I agree with you, Scott. I think he wants to leave a positive legacy. He doesn't want to just walk out right now. I'm sure that the ownership is just telling him, stay as long as you want.
Right.
But there's got to be a point where that is set in stone. I mean, he can't stay there forever, like you guys said. I mean, even if he gets into the age of 80, which he won't stay that long, but he's just an amazing man. He's an amazing coach, and he's taught so many players over the years, so many great players. That's what I admire about him.
Yeah, well, the reality is he'll leave on his own term. He'll have a statue right outside of that arena, and the owners will let him stay as long as he wants. And I'll go back on what Jacob said. Okay, if there was ever a time that Becky Hammond could have been the successor, it would have been then. I don't think there's a clear-cut choice now. But Becky Hammond, had she have stayed there, I could have seen Popovich maybe step aside, but now he's not ready to leave yet. He won't leave because he doesn't want to leave it in tough shape. All right, let's go on to the next topic, okay? No job security for Zach Wilson. New York Jets, Mr. Lack of accountability. He's been benched. Okay. Coach Robert Saleh views it as a reset. Mike White starting versus the Bears. Joe Flacco is the backup. Well, it's not like we didn't see this thing coming. So, you know what, Jake, I'm going to let you go ahead and take the lead on this one.
Considering the Bears have a Swiss cheese defense and you don't give them a chance, because there was that rumor that they were going to give him the one shot left, and then all of a sudden they just went to Mike White. The biggest issue about that is if you don't believe in him for the Bears, he's done for the year. See, I heard them say something like, "Oh, it's not over yet." And it's like, yeah, there's 6 more games left for him to sit. Right. It's just pure and simple. Zach Wilson, he's got an arm but doesn't know what to do with it. If you guys know what I mean.
Yeah,
he has the arm. He does have an arm.
It's Ryan Leaf. It's the misguided missile.
Yeah, but it's like, truthfully though, at least it's a little different from Ryan Leaf in the fact Ryan Leaf was angry and wanted to fight all the time. Zach Wilson just wants to take their moms. That's just
he's just horny.
Yeah, huh? Yeah,
he's just horny.
Yeah, well, guess what? He's not angry. He's just that's the reason. It's like Ryan Leaf may not have gotten enough. Who knows? But the biggest deal with that is, now we don't know what's going to be with the Jets. People like Mike White for now. They also won a game with Flacco, which I was shocked. But you also won with 58 throws. They had 58 throws for like 300 yards. I mean, that's
insane.
Yeah, it's not very. Like I said, Flacco doesn't have much of an arm anymore. I mean, he'd be smarter. Truthfully, this is one thing that I would love to see, and I'm going to bring this part. I would love to see some of these teams do this, especially like the Indianapolis Colts right now when you have Jeff Saturday and everything. Get your backup quarterbacks to play a little bit of offensive coordinator. Could you not see Nick Foles running some plays? I mean, I already knew that Matt Ryan was going to come back and do his own thing and run the show on the field, but really overall, I mean, when you've got some of these players, you might as well let them use that instead, especially when the offense is struggling.
That's an interesting point. All right, George. I know you definitely.
Well, yeah, it's a very unusual situation, obviously, with the team winning and then benching their quarterback. Zach just doesn't have it. I mean, there's no zip on his passing. Last week was atrocious. Last Sunday, he really needs to. He does need to sit. I mean, I think it is a good move by the staff to sit him because they can't take a chance. They want to make the playoffs, obviously. It's not something that the New York Jets do, is make the playoffs very often. So they got an opportunity to do that this year. But is it a highly controversial move? Hell yeah. I mean, he came out of college with such high marks and goes back to what we've talked about before on Fire Up Michigan with quarterbacks. You take them in the first and second round, and you got no guarantee how these guys are going to perform. And I'm not throwing in the towel on him, but it is a very, very highly unusual move to do. But I applaud the Jets for trying to do something and trying to wake him up. And whether that wake up can occur during the practices and the reps during the week or not, I don't know. We'll see what happens without him. And if they win without him, he's going to just sit.
Well, here's the deal. Okay, what people don't understand. I know he's 23 years old. That doesn't certainly allow him to be able to throw his teammates under the bus. I get that, but they're 5-2 with him. Okay, but the problem is those 2 losses against the Patriots were bad. But they were 5-2 with him. So here's what you have. Number one, the kid made a big mistake, at the presser. There's no doubt about that. He's heard it from his teammates, his coaches, his dad even called him. So what are you doing? You can't throw these people under the bus. Saleh, I think, was 2 hours late for a media availability because they're talking, to the owner and the general manager and all that. So, and listen, I saw Zach Wilson destroy Central Florida at the Boca Raton Bowl, and I thought, my goodness. In fact, I had one of his PR publicists on a sports exchange a while back as well, Jacob Hatch, I believe. And I was impressed with him. I'm not writing the kid off. Is it a wake-up call? Yeah, he's 23 years old. I've seen a whole lot worse. But, yeah, I mean, what choice did Robert Saleh have? He had to maintain control of the organization. And he said, listen, I'm not putting the final nail in the coffin on this kid. The last thing you want to do is have a first-round bust. Right, but what you have to do is put out the fire there is what you have to do. And evidently there's one that one definitely got lit up. And you had to kind of slow things down a little bit. You don't throw your teammates, let alone the defense, under the bus, knowing full well you only amassed 77 yards. I mean, we're talking 77 yards, okay? Not 277 yards. I'm good with my math tonight.
Hey, this reminds me, though, of those times when Trubisky was the starter in Chicago. People would say, he could only make this throw, or he could only do underneath or 5 yards. Did you see some of those throws by Wilson? It's like what fans don't understand is if you're off, you call it the misguided missile, Rick. It's right. Like you call it the misguided missile. If it's not, here's the thing: if your brain is off, you can't make any throw. So just to make the idea of, and by the way, Smoking Jerry McGee knows about Trubisky. He's making more throws than that on Detroit all the time.
Yeah, oh, Jesus.
But the biggest thing is, it's like you will hear fans say this about certain quarterbacks they don't like. I just use Trubisky as an example. They'll say that, oh, he can only make this throw. Wilson was proof that if your brain is mush, you can't make any of those. You see that screen pass the other day. You see that screen pass on Sunday.
Right. Well, I mean, I like the term that Saleh used, okay, that he's resetting him. I think he is. I mean, you got to reset him, take him back, make him sit out a little bit. Listen, every athlete runs into a wall once in a while. It happens in baseball when you have a slump. You set the guy down and let him think a little bit. If you're not overthinking, Zach Wilson, I think, will be fine down the road. And I think the Jets aren't going to let him go. He just needs a little time off. They'll know when it's right to bring him back. They will. But they had to do something right now. Things are too boiling there to not do anything. What kind of a message does it send to your locker room? So I think Saleh's handling it brilliantly. I really do. And the rest of the organization, sometimes we can kid around about how badly the Jets handle everything, but this is one of those things where this new regime is handling it well. All right, Rick, go ahead.
Oh, I thought he was a bust from the beginning. You guys are being way, way too nice about this little punk. He's a spoiled entitled little punk. He's a bust. Okay. He's Baker Mayfield 2.0. Saleh's doing the right thing. He's not going to play this season. Who knows next season? I think they realized that they screwed up in the draft, just like the Jets always screw up with quarterback picks like Darnold, who I thought was a bust in the beginning. And, he's still, he's going to start with the Panthers, but he's Baker Mayfield 2.0. No surprise at all that he stinks so bad. And, Scott, you're talking about you always hit a wall, but the problem is you usually have to be good in the beginning to hit a wall. This guy has stunk it up from day one. So no surprise here. The Jets are atrocious at getting quarterbacks, and he'll be gone probably in a year or two, and they'll get some other busts.
Okay. Jeremy?
Isn't it a coincidence that they had to play New England within 4 weeks' time? Remember, they only had 2 weeks with other teams in between. When a defense has your number, they're going to still have your number within a month. That being said, he had his first bad game right after the Giselle and Tom breakup, and he did it. You know, there was that meme out there. Maybe it was real. Maybe it really was him saying, "Hey, Giselle, I'm available."
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? Last night we had a lot of fun with this topic, and that's why I wanted to bring it back on Inside the Pigskin. I mean, we really had a lot of fun with it. So, all right. So here it is. The last time the Miami Dolphins were 7-3. Okay, guys, listen to what I'm going to tell you. The last time they were 7-3, okay, they had 24 starting quarterbacks ago, 8 head coaches, 7 stadiums, including renaming them ago, no titles by the Miami Heat. LeBron was in high school. The iPad just came out. The iPhone was 6 years away. Tua was 3. Mike McDaniel was a freshman. Tom Brady was a rookie. So that's a lot. What I did
1999.
last night, okay, and I'm going to address it with each and every one of you. Okay, give me the one of these facts that stands out in your mind. Rick, give it to me.
So probably Mike McDaniel's a freshman. I mean, he was like in high school when they were this good, and now he's the head coach. So that's a lot. All of them are mind-boggling, but just to think of their head coach was in high school the last time they were relevant it's weird to me. It's kind of funny to me. So I would have to say their head coach being a freshman in high school.
Okay, George.
I think you said Tua was 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 years old. That one really jumped out at me, Scott. I mean, to think that the quarterback was 3 years old at the time, my God. I mean, that seems like ages and eons ago. So that one really jumps at me, and they're having so far a really good year. We'll see if it can continue.
Okay, Jacob.
The 62-7 year.
Was that the choice? I don't think that was one of the choices, but I remember it real well.
But that was the biggest thing is this is what makes me it's what amazes me. Mike McDaniel's got the coolest team in the league right now. Yeah. No doubt about that. It's like I mean, people just don't know it yet because it took them a long time to get this good. But they're going to be getting big time names, celebrities, and everything on them really, really soon. Especially if you keep Tyreek, you keep all of those. They've got a brand spanking new wide receiver room. None of them are really big. That's going to be changing everything up. The Miami team is going to get better and better. And it's like I could see 11 wins or something, maybe struggle a little down the stretch, but they're going to get really beast really fast.
So with that said, what's the answer to my question? Which one of these stood out to you?
McDaniel. Being a freshman, It's like that's the absolute thing. And 2 at 3. It's like it just amazes you. You forget how young
you're starting to look like Rick Curry. I give you this guy when I tell him to give me a Mount Rushmore, he gives me 5 instead of 4. So now we got the let's stretch the limit brothers here, Christner and Curry, the double Z's. That's okay. All right, I'm just kidding with you, Jacob. It's all part of the love, brother. All right, JB, this version of them.
It's got to be the 7 stadium name changes. Whether it's the stadiums or whatever. Think about it. The last time they were relevant, the Lions played in Pontiac Silverdome.
Jeez. Okay. So you say, and you know what? I'll give you my answer because I'm consistent with what I said on Inside the Pigskin. Tua was 3. That's the one I thought too. Tua was 3, and that's when they were 7-3. Do I see some lottery numbers there? Because if I do, I have a feeling my crew's going over to the store. They're going to go out there and watch his broadcast.
373.
There you go. And if you need me to text, I'll be more happy to do that. So, all right.
And if you want to do the 4-digit, throw in the 9 for the 9th grade freshman.
There you go. Hey, that a boy, Jeremy. He's got I imagine you're a lottery player, right, Jeremy?
No, not at all. Yes.
Well, we'll give you some numbers to work with. You got them here, and if you need them again, I'll go ahead and take a picture because I can't screw up the penmanship with the numbers. My handwriting is bad, but numbers are usually a little easier to read. All right. Let's talk about Tom Brady. We just mentioned him moments ago when he was a rookie. So I'm going to throw a hypothetical question at everyone. Yeah.
Oh, God.
After all, it is Thanksgiving, and it's time to have some hypothetical stuff. All right. So speaking of Brady, how do you think he would do in the Canadian Football League, Jacob?
Oh, Brady, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, he would have a career. He'd have a career at about 50 if he was at that, because you got to realize how many of those long floaters he has, especially when his arm is not as strong anymore, and that 72-yard 1 yard line. he would just love to be able to make those plays going to the back of the end zone as far because that's as far as he'd be able to go pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, let's face it, really. I only brought this up because he won in every country. He hadn't won in Canada yet, unless the NFL decides to hold an exhibition game there or a regular season game. But that's why I brought it up. But can you imagine? All right, Falcon Jeremy, I got some opinions on this. I'll make sure I get you guys in first. All right.
Can you say 4 straight Grey Cups?
Okay.
4 straight Grey Cups.
One less than Warren Moon, but okay, you say 4 straight. Right. Okay, fair enough.
That's because he'd be 50. That's the only reason.
He's 44, turning 45. He will retire at 50. He'll play till he's 49. Yes, so 4 straight.
Got the logic. Good stuff. Okay, I like that one, Jeremy. All right, Rick.
He would break every single season record. He would hold the most Grey Cups, and they would have a statue. They probably their logo would probably have him on their CFL logo. So he would just be like the Babe Ruth of Canadian football.
Okay, George.
I'm not going to argue with any of my colleagues here. I think he would tear them up, and he would set the CFL ratings through the roof, whether it's on CBC or CCTV or whoever's covering that league. It would be unbelievable. And of course, the following would be fantastic. He'd be able to sell out stadiums that normally are half full in the CFL north of the border.
Got another question. Would he go to Toronto or Edmonton?
Edmonton.
Toronto.
Toronto.
I got a different answer. I say British Columbia, the Lions. If Detroit Lions can't win anything, at least maybe British Columbia can anyway.
British Columbia lost this year.
That's okay. Hey, listen, he gets to play at BC place indoors. It doesn't matter.
The Argonauts won, so he'll go there.
Where?
The Argonauts won in Toronto.
No, yeah, okay. Hey, this is a fun subject. We got George and I and Jeremy. We're born with this stuff right near Metro Detroit when they broadcast CFL regular. So yeah, I would say that Tom is good for at least 5 championships with the British Columbia Lions. We can't get the Lions to win one. At least let us get another one. And one of my longtime buddies, Frank Lodato, who was one of the first guests I had on the Sports Exchange before we went visual. Frank Lodato used to be a sports psychologist, and I had a chance to do a interview on Peter Ween on WEI Network. Rick remembers that one. Wally Bono, but that's beside the point. So it's safe to say now I think it'd be interesting to watch Brady on that long field with those big end zones. I guarantee you one thing about the Canadian Football League, though. Dan Orlovsky could not run out of the back of those end zones, considering what he did in Minnesota during the Lions 0-16 season. Why am I bringing it up? Because they talk about far and wide in Canada. My goodness. All right. So with that said, it's safe to say Brady would do all right. So let's go ahead and talk about the biggest rivalry in college football. It's the season to have them. So, all right, Jacob.
Well, who do I think is the biggest rivalry?
Yeah, biggest rivalry. Don't try to stretch it.
I'm here in Alabama, Auburn. I'm hearing that, but I'm still going to say Ohio State, Michigan.
Okay.
Because I'm a Midwestern boy by itself. And it's like Michigan. Really, I shouldn't say it because I want to give up on the idea of Bears and Packers being a rivalry because the Packers have beat them for the last 30 years.
Right.
But for the most part, and the Ohio State have been dominating Michigan. But really, by itself, I mean, it's a really close tie. But now that Harbaugh's figured it out, I really believe that it's Ohio State and Michigan again.
Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, Jeremy.
In college football, you got to say Michigan and Ohio State. They've actually met the most out of all the rivalries. It's been going longer than even the Michigan State rivalry.
Okay, that's fair enough. Rick?
Well, as soon as Michigan starts winning, I could put that up there, but I'm going to go
they
with
did last year.
I'm going to go with, well, they haven't won a championship yet in a while,
That's
but
true.
Anyway, I'm going to have to say Alabama and Georgia. They've won championships. You got Kirby Smart, who was there with Nick Saban, and Georgia looks like the best right now. Alabama's, I guess, struggling since they have 2 losses, but those two are two of the best teams in college football, and their rivalries their games are always exciting. So I'm gonna go with Alabama and Georgia.
That's good. We got a different.
Alabama's struggling. They have 2 losses.
Yeah, they're struggling.
They'll be in the
That's
January
struggling
bowl
with
game.
Nick Saban. That's
Yeah, that's
struggling with
struggling.
Nick
That's a
Saban.
struggle for them.
That'll be a January 1 bowl game. It's still fine.
Well, I know where George is going, but let George speak for himself.
We don't call it the rivalry, do we, Scott? We call it the game. There's only one the game, and that's Michigan against Ohio State. Hey, but you know what? I'm going to do a close second, not too close, I shouldn't say, but USC and Notre Dame is one hell of a rivalry too. That one cooks up at Southern Cal this weekend. So that one's been going on a long, long time, USC and Notre Dame. And let's hope it can continue in the future, despite what the Big Ten looks like. Of course, it won't be played in November any longer once USC is in the Big Ten. But right. Michigan, Ohio State, no. I mean, come on. Woody Hayes against Bo Schembechler. We remember those days. Unbelievable. Keith Jackson. Whoa, Nilly, was the announcer on ABC most of those years. And now, of course, there's been a dry spell, obviously, with Michigan losing so much to Ohio State, except for last year when they finally won. So, but no, that game is off the charts.
Okay, well, obviously, I know what my choice is: Michigan, Ohio State. I don't care. I mean, you got the team that's located up north. A lot of people talk about that. We know Urban Meyer and all that, but let's face reality: these two programs are obviously two of the winningest programs in college football history, and it certainly have had a lot of games. It's hard to go against it. I don't really know if I have a secondary rivalry, but if I guess I were going to go with one, I'd probably lean in your direction, Rick, with Alabama, Georgia. I couldn't even ask myself to put Clemson in there because they've only been relevant recently in the last 10, 15 years. Other than that, they weren't doing anything. And if I had to really look at another rivalry, living in the Southeast like I am, I would probably go ahead and go Alabama, Auburn, too, would probably be one.
Florida and Georgia, they're the hedges behind the hedge. They're the hedges. You also have Iron Bowl, Alabama, Auburn. But I will bring this up, George. Notre Dame. This is an interesting game for them because they lost 3 games straight to begin the season, plus the one last year. It's 4 straight. They lost that. If they lose this game, if they win this game, they can go to a January 1 bowl game. Yeah. If they lose this one, they'll go beyond it, and it was just because of those 3. And they played some of the best in college football. So that just tells you what college football is right now.
Well, I'll tell you, you want to throw another rivalry out there. This may seem crazy. I loved it when Michigan was taking on Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They didn't play as often, but you know what?
Notre Dame and Boston College, too.
We're forgetting one.
Florida State was the best one during the 90s.
Which one?
Florida State.
Yeah. Well, which one are you leaning, Jay?
The Red River rivalry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Texas, Oklahoma. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one, too. And they get to pick it up over in the Southeastern Conference to get humbled like the rest of them.
Oklahoma and Nebraska, remember, was a good one.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Yeah, but I'll say this much right now, and I believe this: when Penn State and Nebraska joined the Big Ten, they got humbled. But what's going to happen with Texas and Oklahoma is when they get to the Southeastern Conference, they're going to eat humble pie big time because they're not going to face competition this consistent like they will when they were in the Big 12. I'll leave it at that. So, all right. So, but I'm going to go with Michigan, Ohio State. All right. Today, unfortunately, some news came out. I think we were all kind of expecting it, though. The 7 Michigan State players were charged for their turmoil, melee, 6 misdemeanors, 1 felony. We knew this was going to happen, but now, indeed, the charges are what they are. So, George, why don't you give me an overview of what lies ahead for these 7 guys? Because I know the one thing, they're not playing football, and they're going to need some lawyers. It's going to get ugly.
Well, a lot of this was promoted and prompted by Jim Harbaugh. I'm not saying he's right or he's wrong about it when he was calling it a criminal offense, but the Washtenaw County, obviously, where Ann Arbor is located, is a county called Washtenaw, and they proceeded with the. I'm just hoping that the case is not tainted, in any way, shape, or form by the fact of the comments that were put out there by Harbaugh immediately after the incident occurred. That being said, I think it'd be an out-of-court settlement. There's going to be some programs that the kids are going to have to get into probably, but I don't see anybody doing any jail time on this sort of thing. I think it'll probably be out of court settlement. My opinion, I have no basis on that other than my own thought. It's unfortunate what happened, but it was in the heat of the battle of the moment, but it still is unfortunate. It should not have occurred.
Well, but you got 6 misdemeanors and 1 felony. I understand totally your position on this whole thing. The reality is, in this day and age, when you have cameras and you have film, it's pretty hard to really taint any evidence when the visuals speak for themselves. So, these kids made some serious mistakes. Michigan State is definitely eating a lot of crow over the whole thing. And now, obviously, whether it's in Washtenaw County, the offenses took place at Michigan Stadium. And, there was an agenda. And the problem is unlike anything you see nowadays, if it's on tape, it's on camera, it's pretty hard to argue anything about that. So what are your thoughts, Jacob?
How much of this whole situation was these kids and they were just, were they this way all their lives, or is it just, do they have a coach who's irresponsible? You asked this question because I was reading up on Mel Tucker today, and he was given a bonus that was supposed to be $100,000 shared with his assistant coaches. He didn't tell him, and he kept it all.
Really? So, no kidding.
Yeah, he kept it all, and it's like you have to wonder the integrity of the guy and what he's teaching the kids. Is he teaching them violence? Is he teaching them all that? Then so have the kids always been this way, or have they always been this way, or does he have a problem, or are they being coached up? And you have to wonder this type of thing. And I've never been a Mel Tucker fan to begin with, so then I read that story. I'm like, this could easily be. Who knows?
Well, no kidding. Yeah, well, obviously that Mel Tucker hiring's looking worse by the minute.
Well, yeah, and another thing, Jacob, you didn't mention, I don't know if you guys had heard this, but there are reports that Tucker told the players to go after Blake Corum's knees, that they were told to act violently wherever they could to take him down, to take down JJ, the quarterback. Now, again, if this is true, you're right, Jacob, there could be a lot of things going on in that Michigan State program that are really not good as far as Tucker goes.
You want to know what should be happening? You know what should be happening then? If it's really that bad, Michigan State should be looking for a chance to at least cut some of that, get rid of him and cut some of that money in half. Well, you have to give something to him. You have to give something to him to get out for a release. But see if you get it, because right now they're at $86 million.
Well, first of all, if you fire him with cause, doesn't that mean that you don't have to pay the guy? So
I'm giving a goodwill statement. If they fire him with cause and they don't have to give money, that is one thing. But it's another. At least at the best, at least cut some of that money in half. He's at $86 million right now.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. All right, Jeremy, what's your take on this?
I hope they throw the book at him. What I saw in that video, I didn't watch any interviews. I didn't watch any newsreels. I stayed away from big media. I just watched what was in the reel that was taken live and in person right there in that tunnel. And it was a travesty. I mean, the kid was just walking by, and next thing you know, he turns his head. He didn't even say anything. He never even had a chance to open his mouth, and then he's dragged to the floor and beat up, kicked on, hit with helmets and everything else. They deserve whatever they get.
Okay. Rick?
Yeah, I agree. They should go to jail. Their NFL careers or football careers are done. They're going to have records now, and their lives are ruined all because of this stupid incident. And Mel Tucker needs to be fired. Yeah. He needs to go away, and Michigan State never should have given him all that money after one successful season. I mean, it's given 2 or 3 seasons, okay, but one season, and now it looks like a stupid hiring. I blame Mel Tucker for this as well. I think he promotes this stuff, and he needs to go.
Even for knowing his character, I've said it was a horrible hiring.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. After one season, to give him all that money after one season?
It's like they did it to Lance Leopold in Kansas, but you could see that part. But the thing is, I said that he was a miserable defensive coordinator with the Bears. He was a bad coach in Colorado. He's not a good coach, and now he's got character issues.
Well, I'll say this. You brought up Lance Leopold. I'd take Lance Leopold over Mel Tucker all day long.
Sure.
I would. I mean, think about what the guy's done. He was iconic at University of Wisconsin Whitewater. I believe they're the Warhawks, right? I believe. if I remember right. And if that wasn't good enough, he won with Buffalo. So I think to me, Lance Leipold is a guy that, he's looking for the challenge to see if he can turn Kansas around. That not too many people could do it.
He
But
just did 6
Yeah.
wins.
Yeah, well, that's all right. That's good for him. I can only imagine what it'll be
kidding.
like as he builds momentum. But yeah, I think the sooner you move on from Tucker, the better off you are. However you do it, and this is becoming so much more embarrassment by Michigan State. By the minute, you got to wash your hands as quick, and it's just unfortunate. But we expected the charges to be, and whether Jim Harbaugh tipped them off or not, that's beside the point. But if you're telling me what I think is true, Jacob, that there was other stuff that occurred about quorum, or George, you mentioned the other things, then that's even more reason to get rid of them for cause.
Well, before you go on to the next subject, I want to bring this part up.
Sure, go ahead.
Michigan State has a big issue with one of the things is if they do get rid of him, there will be a lawsuit, even if it was with cause. Mel Tucker will go to court. There's no question. They already have a monster issue with the rape from the swimming, the girl with the swimming.
Right.
The rape, the whole those rape trials.
That was gymnastics.
The gymnastics, yeah. They have. Thank you. They have all kinds of problems right now at that university, and it's like, that's just going to decide: do they want to do the little Hulk Hogan Gawker issue? I mean, I'm just saying that in comparison, that whole idea where you're taking a chance at just getting your name thrown through the mud just to try to win something, because that's what you'd have to do to get rid of Mel Tucker. He'll take it to court. He deserves nothing, but that's just the whole thing. He would take that to court. They've already had problems.
Okay, well,
true.
Yeah, we'll leave that as the final word on that. So, all right, let's go around the horn a little bit. Rick, give me a prediction: Michigan, Ohio State.
I have Ohio State winning this game. I would say 31-20. It'll be a good game, but I still think Ohio State is one of the best teams.
31-20, is that what you said?
Yeah.
11 points. Okay, George. I know we talked about it.
My heart says Michigan, but we still don't know the status of Blake Corum after he got hurt in last week's victory over Illinois, a much tighter game than anybody in Michigan had hoped for. So I'm going to have to go with Ohio State to win by, I don't know, I'll say 37-24.
Okay, Jeremy?
Well, considering I heard it was just a bruise and he's back practicing, I'm going to say Michigan wins, but it's not going to be like an astronomical number because both defenses are actually really good. So I'm thinking it's going to be like a 24-21 Michigan.
Yeah, and you know what? Again, that's a good point because we addressed this on Fire Up Michigan a couple nights ago. Corum plays Michigan 31-28. If he doesn't play, then I say it's 38-24 in favor of Ohio State. So, all right, well, we got some things.
Well, I got one. We didn't get Michigan 41-31. The reason I still remember the Ohio State and Northwestern deal where they had such a lull in their offense before the second half. They get those kind of lulls with a team like Michigan, they're dead. I see 41-31 Michigan.
Sorry about that, Jacob. Thanks for flipping
no
in.
problem.
Okay, well, you know what? We'll give you some more predictions. 3 of them. That is Bills-Lions, 12:30. The Lions, I believe, have lost 6 straight Thanksgiving games, if I heard. Unless somebody can clarify me on that. They get the Buffalo Bills riding a 3-game winning streak. All right, Jeremy.
Yeah, the last time we won was versus the Raiders on November 22nd, 2016. But that being said, I think they have
that was probably 1958.
No. Anyways, I think they got a legit shot to win. Josh Allen has got a little bit of throwing mechanics problem due to his elbow, and it was visibly noticeable in Ford Field with no wind, and his ball had a little bit of a hook to it, so it was off target a lot of that game. Yeah, he made some good throws at the end. The biggest thing we got to take away is Stephon Diggs, but yet you can't sleep on Gabe Davis either. He's a speedster. I think they can win because they have the better run game, which means they can dominate the time of possession. I'm going to go 27-23 Lions.
Okay, Jacob.
I think Dawson Knox is going to have his biggest game of the year, even bigger than last week's, because you're correct, by the way. His arm is a little bit off, a little bit of a hook on that. He's going to start doing some of those 8 to 10 yards to Dawson Knox, and you know how he can run. So you're going to see some 20-yarders there. I think it's going to be close because I love Dan Campbell. Love the guy. They fight all the time. But I say 31-27 Buffalo.
Rick?
I have Buffalo 24-21. I think it'll be a good game. And Jacob, I don't like Dan Campbell. I think he's all bark and no bite.
Okay. George?
Well, they bought into his all bark.
They sure have.
I mean,
3 wins in a row, big
let
deal.
me put it this way: if he wins again, Campbell, I mean, this whole town is going to go crazy. Everybody wants him to be successful. They like the regime that the Lions have assembled. I'm going to say too, I agree with Smoke and Jeremy. I think they're overdue. It's been way too long since they won on Turkey Day. As you know, they're the featured game every year, game one of this triple header. So I'm going to go Lions 27, Buffalo 21.
And I'll go with the Lions too, 31-26. I just think it's pretty ironic, however, Buffalo defeats Cleveland at Ford Field, come back 4 or 5 days later, they get to play in Ford Field. So it's safe to say they know their way around the area pretty well.
And also, Buffalo has 8 players, 5 on defense, 3 on offense that are sick right now.
So they.
Ooh.
Now, I will say this, though. I do hope Florida Atlantic University graduate Devin Singletary has a good game, but just not too good of a game because Devin Singletary is a special player, and I like seeing good things happen.
After last week's efforts versus running backs, the Lions are actually 11th versus running back rushing yards for the season as a defense.
Well, I'm wearing a Miami hat, but I hope Devin Singletary has a good game, but not too good of a game.
Well, the fun thing about it is, I was bringing this up, Rick. I said 4 wins, 3 to 4 wins last year, 6 to 7 this year, playoffs next year for Detroit. So they're going to
right on track.
They're cursed.
Cursed franchise. That's the Cubs.
Well, but you know what? I believe Jamison Williams has been practicing, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, he is on that 20-day enabled practice where he can practice in a limited fashion with the team. He's due back either next week or the week after, so it'll be Jags or Minnie is when he makes his debut.
All right, so give us a stat that you hit us with on Monday night about the Lions and the Giants, Jeremy. That was really good, and these guys need to hear it.
Historically, the Lions versus the New York Giants, they are 25-21-1 versus the New York Giants. So I said, hello, New York Giants, to your daddy.
There you go. Yeah, that's why it was worth repeating again. So, all right, there are 2 other football games. Giants at the Cowboys 4:30. Cowboys have a 9-game winning streak over the G-Men, and it's safe to say the Cowboys certainly probably studied a lot of that Lions tape just a few days ago and how the Lions took care of business up at the Meadowlands. All right, with that said, Jacob.
Boy, that's tough. That is so tough. The thing is, Dallas plays down sometimes, but the Giants aren't down. The Giants aren't exactly down right now, but the Giants also had a bad we could say a bad loss to Detroit, even though Detroit's improving.
They had a bad loss at home.
Yeah. I'm going to say Dallas 31-16. I'm just going to get around the same as the last time. It's up. So they said the Giants just don't have an offense right now. Their defense will be good for a while, and they'll get their points in the fourth quarter.
What's the one thing Dallas has struggled with all year?
Coaching.
They have a absolutely abysmal running defense.
Yeah.
It's actually worse than the Giants. That being said, after only getting 15 touches and 22 yards last week, I doubt Saquon Barkley is very happy with how that sits, that taste in his mouth that he got shut down by the Detroit Lions. Yeah. So I think he's going to go off. And I think Daniel Jones, they also struggle against running quarterbacks. That's why they lost to Philly the way they did. I think they're going to go off. I think you're going to see 44-47 runs, just like the last time the Giants lost. They just ran the piss out of it the next week. They threw 3 passes all game.
So give me your prediction, Jeremy.
Giants win 24-21.
Really? Okay, Rick?
I have the Giants 24-17. I just do not trust Dak Prescott at all. I don't trust Mike McCarthy with the Cowboys at all.
I
The
don't trust him
Cowboys
anywhere.
do this every year where their annoying, obnoxious fans keep talking about them boys are back because they beat the living snot out of the Vikings. They'll get back to reality. I don't like them at all. And I don't trust Dak Prescott. So I have the Giants 24-17.
George.
Ye of little faith. Wow. It's a big game. Obviously, Thanksgiving Day in Dallas. Huge crowd. And if my heart is saying Dallas, I'm still thinking it's going to be a slugfest, though. I'm going to say Dallas 27 and the Giants 24.
And I'm going to go Dallas 33-17. I don't know. For some reason, I think the Giants, the Cowboys are playing awfully good. They really are. And if they use Tony Pollard and they get Ezekiel Elliott going and they figure out the wide receivers, and I think they're going to win by double digits. One more game left to talk about. New England at Minnesota, the late night game. All right. Start off with Jacob again.
Patriots.
Okay.
Patriots. I'm just bringing that. Patriots. They had that 10-3. They had that 10-3 score. The one thing about them is we know who's playing quarterback, but the biggest thing I noticed about them is they get themselves a little 10-3 game. They come back with 30 next time. It just seems to happen with them. And then it's also 8 o'clock. It's Ace Kirk Cousins, who weighs about 120 pounds. So I'm going to probably say 31-10, 38-10 New England.
Jeremy?
I think it's going to be a much closer game than that. I think they're going to definitely give Dalvin Cook more than 15 touches. But we're talking a primetime game with Kirk Cousins when he turns into the 10-18 Kirk Cousins in primetime games. So
he has that many wins? He has that many wins
between Washington and Minnesota combined in primetime. I don't see them winning because of it, because I think Justin Jefferson's going to have another horrible game. Speaking of which, I better bench him. But
you're going to pay for that.
If I do, I do. I didn't pay last week. I still won with him benched, but because I knew that would be a bad game. That being said, I think the New England Patriots will beat the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to say 28-15.
Okay. Rick?
Yeah, Kirk Cousins chokes during these big primetime games. We all know that his record on Monday Night Football, whatever it is, he sucks. And so the Vikings, not really a big believer on their record. And the Patriots, even though they're not the same, they're still a pretty good team. So I have them winning like 30-14, something like that.
Okay, George.
Kirk Cousins from Michigan State University. He's going to come through and rally the troops, and they are going to defeat New England, I would say, by a score of I'm going with about 28-21.
And you know what? I'm going to ride the Patriots 24-14. Well, I lost confidence in the Vikings after what happened the other night. They were exposed, and they were exposed badly. All right.
At home.
The only good thing that came about the Cowboys winning is that the Lions were the only NFC North team to win last week.
Well, there you go, Jeremy. There's a reason why we bring you on these shows. You always come up with some good ones. You do. This guy, he just keep it up.
And also,
Jeremy.
he loves your beard.
Oh, he did. Well, I don't know. I see my dad tomorrow, so my dad won't like me having the beard. So you guys are looking at it for a while. Hey, if you're watching this thing, it'll be gone by the time we get over to Peter Pan's Diner out in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, are you going to shave?
Yeah. No, I'm not shaving. I'm mowing it off.
Oh, okay.
I'll probably stay, and then I'll bring it back after I see. I don't know. I may bring it back after I see him for his birthday a week later. So, but I guarantee it'll be in full form by the time my wife and I head up to Wisconsin for the holiday.
Right.
I don't want my old man giving me a hard time. It's something to deal with 2 years of being without my mom, but she used to ride me about it, so I don't need him giving me the business. So, yeah, you guys are looking at the old gray stuff for a little while longer before we let her grow back a little while. So with that said, let's go to our parting shots. And you know what, Jacob, since I'm going to lead off with you again, my friend.
I gave this warning to these Bears fans over and over and over and over and over and over. Told them, don't play Justin Fields with Matt Nagy. That's the first thing. They do that. He gets dug a hole that he has had to keep digging himself out of. So what happens this year? Starts off rough, but then he sets records. We know what Justin can do. Certain things. His throwing struggles, but he throwing struggles at times. He makes good throws, but he struggles in certain moments. But he is dynamic. But what happens? He gets hurt because he has to be hero all the time for the moron fans who want the cool kid. And what's going to happen now? It's probably going to be Trevor Siemian, which the biggest thing about it is and if you do play, this is the thing, it's a lose-lose situation. You play Justin Fields on Sunday with that defensive line of the Jets, he's going to get murdered. And you play Trevor Siemian, he's going to get even more murdered. But this is what Bears fans, this is what a lot of the Bears fans have coming to them. Got to quit looking for your heroes like your high school and getting the cool kid to look at you. Go for the win. Go for a winning team. The Bears, we have had more than enough of this. Any of us fans that want to win had more than enough of looking for the cool kid. I can name 1,000 different ways. I want to see winning. I don't care about the stats. I'm tired of 3-8. Tired of it. I was happy with Mitch and a system, even if I hated Nagy. I was happy with Mitch and a system. I was happy with that because it was 12 wins. Let's see, there was 8 and 9. I'm happy with that. It's better than 6-4. I'm sick and tired of this kind of stuff, and it's happened more often than not. So develop Fields properly and quit listening to the fans.
Very good. I like that. Okay, Jeremy.
Well, to piggyback off of that, he's kind of right. Brad Holmes laid out his 3-year plan right when he got here. Fix the offense, fix the trenches. Second year, build on the defense, but still fix the offense. Third year, fill the rest of the holes in the draft. That's exactly what they've done. And if you look, what's this? Week 12, we already have 4 wins. That's one more win than we had last year. That means that they should win anywhere between 6 and 8 games this year, if that's how you look at it going forward. Because they got some teams that are floundering right now. You got Carolina floundering. You got Jacksonville, who each week you don't know if it's Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde that's going to be playing for Trevor Lawrence. Right. Then you got the Jets. If they start White versus the Lions, everybody says, oh, that Dallas D-line is going to sack Goff like 8 times. It was 3. The New York Giants ones, they got so much pressure. They blitz more than anybody else. They got none. I'm not scared of anybody's D-line with this O-line.
Okay, Rick?
I just want to say congratulations to Jim Mora. You know, he went to UConn, took a bad football team for a long time. They're going bowling now. They're going to go to a bowl game. It's been the first bowl game they've been to in I don't know how many years. I'm happy to see Jim Mora back in college in football, let alone in college. I thought he got a raw deal with Seattle that one season there. He was at UCLA, did okay, and then he was fired. Hadn't seen him in a while. I'm glad he came to UConn. Big challenge he had to do, and in one season to go into a bowl game. So congratulations to UConn football, to Jim Mora.
I like that one, Rick. Okay, George.
Well, it's something that I wrote about in the Motor City Tribune, and that's the 60th anniversary of that famous Detroit Green Bay game at Briggs or Tiger Stadium when they just smothered Bart Starr, Mr. Everything, Mr. All-Pro, led by Roger Brown, Alex Karras, and that Detroit defense. Hats off to them. The 60th anniversary of that game on Thanksgiving Day when the Packers came in undefeated and Detroit dealt the Packers their only loss that season. So it's a memorable day. Detroit loves football. They love Thanksgiving Day. It starts with America's Thanksgiving Parade down Woodward Avenue, voted one of the best parades in America, and it ends with the Lions feasting, hopefully, on the Buffalo Bills, even though I predicted that earlier. It's a great day in Detroit. Football's back, and Thanksgiving will never be the same if we don't have Lions football and our parade down Woodward Avenue, guys.
Yeah, I've been to that parade and I've been to numerous Lions games on Thanksgiving. I definitely miss Detroit. Not only all the time because I'm obviously from the area, but especially around Thanksgiving time. I will say, though, unfortunately, 2 years ago, my mom passed away 2 days after Thanksgiving. So that's a very bittersweet holiday for me. But nevertheless, I know, Mom, I'm thinking about you every time I come on these shows. I always think about you. So rest in peace. I hope you're enjoying what you're seeing upstairs here. My parting shot's a very unique one, though. We're going to go back to baseball. I don't think it's so much a shot as more as a comment. Bryce Harper undergoes Tommy John surgery and could be back in mid-May per Jim Salisbury. What a difference the position player slash pitcher in terms of recovery time, isn't it? You're talking about a pitcher, you lose an entire year, year and a half, but a position player you get that just mind boggles me. So, and I'll tell you what, of all the modern day players, I have to tell you, of all the ones I like, Bryce Harper is probably easily in my top 5. I love this guy. I really, really do. Crashes into walls, play hard, plays with passion. Bryce Harper could play in any era at any time, and I would think highly on the guy. So, but I just found it hard to believe he has undergoes Tommy John surgery and can be back by mid-May. And how many times have we seen pitchers have the same procedure and they're out a year and a half?
Well, that's because he throws the ball less. That torque isn't there.
It's not curveball. He's just throwing straight like a fastball.
I know.
It's like curves.
Yeah, you guys are right. I'm just mind boggled about the recovery time, nevertheless, of such a surgery. But yeah, obviously the way you throw it. And of course, nowadays you can have an injury like that and still be designated hitter. It doesn't make any difference anyways. Yeah. It just gives you the ability to hit. So just thought it came up there and I wanted to bring it up. So, but that said, you know what? We're going to let everybody have an opportunity so that people find you. Rick, go ahead. Start it off, please.
You can find me on my website, www.charlottebats.com. Sign the petition. Try to bring Major League Baseball to Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB, Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Instagram at Charlotte Bats. I'm on Twitter, Charlotte Bats Baseball. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curdy. Have any comments or questions, you can email me at cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com.
Very good. All right, Jeremy, go ahead.
I'm with Kneecap Biting and Smoking Jeremy B. I do my podcasts on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And tonight, after I get off here, I have my NFL Roundtable Talks with Weekly Pick'ems. And since it's a Thanksgiving Day game, it'll be the Lions pregame show, too. That being said, I also write editorials for the South Florida Tribune underneath the Motor City Tribune. Just look me up.
Very good. Okay, Jacob.
You're on me to give my first little promotion of the new show that I'm going to be getting. But I'll tell you this. Sunday nights, the Basket Bros with you, Scott, and all of their others. And then right afterwards, me and John Shearer are going to be doing a show called The Checkdown, going over the NFL during the week. Right after that, we're doing that Monday nights during the season, and NBA Carousel, Megan Price, Tuesday nights during the season, Confidential, no more 11 o'clock. Wednesday nights, double headers. And we see this here. Normally Pundits with Scott, also with everybody else. Jay, Jen, me, everybody. And then this show, the Sports Exchange. Thursday nights I'm away from the Sideline Sports, and I do a show called The Yin and Yang with TJ Sampson. We talk about film. We talk about psychology, politics, all kinds of stuff like that from the 2 different perspectives and philosophies. So kind of working like that. And then on Friday nights, once in a while, I'm on the Gauntlet. And then I'm also working on a couple movies. So things are going well.
Yeah, and like I said, I enjoy coming on Basket Bros. Great show. I mean, at a time when George Eichhorn and I covered the sport when it really mattered and people cared about it. And, of course, obviously the Pundits Pundit, you do an outstanding job with your magazine format to try to keep it real. Folks, if you haven't seen the Pundits Pundit, go over to Sideline Sports every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. You got to watch it. To me, this show reminds me a lot of Outside the Lines magazine style, 60 Minutes, 2020, because Jacob and the rest of them do such an outstanding job coming up with different stuff. If you're looking for a really change of pace type of show, to me, I don't think there's a better one you can see. Pundits Fun. Am I biased? Yeah, I don't really frankly care. I am. Anyway. All right, George Eichhorn, you have a book to talk about.
Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the air. It makes a great gift this holiday season. 128 pages of Detroit's and Michigan's rich sports broadcasting history, featuring the likes of Ty Tyson, Ernie Harwell, Ray Lane, Van Patrick, Bruce Martin, and Frank Beckman, and Mr. host of our show, Scott Morganroth. You're featured there with Muhammad Ali and Jimmy Connors. There's a link to my book on the South Florida Tribune and Motor City Tribune websites. I write for that as well, and the Detroit Monitor. You can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com or on Twitter at SNGSports99.
And I will say this, George Eichhorn does a really good job, going around our network, filling in on different shows and the Sports Exchange, something we created. Let me go over our stuff very quickly. This show, the Sports Exchange, can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. So whether you're in the subway, whether you're on a bus, whether you're in your car, whether you're walking, on a bike, whatever, that's how you can hear us. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. Also, please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel by just going to youtube.com, look for South Florida Tribune, hit the subscribe button. You'll get all the necessary notifications that you have about everything we're doing. We do a lot of remote stuff on the road, whether it's media availabilities, as well as the streams. And, of course, I appear on lots of other shows as well. My Twitter information is at Tribune South. We're also have another account called Tribune City, which is a Motor City Tribune page. And beginning in 2023, we're going to be streaming this to 6 different platforms. Even though we're allowed 8, I have 3 more. So that'll be another way to expand our reach. You can also email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And a special kudos to Candy Albling. My goodness. You want to talk about the MVP of this network. She is definitely it. Make sure that all the necessary content gets up there, the shows and so forth. And I tell you, without Candy, we couldn't pull this production off. So meanwhile, you guys, as always, I only surround myself with the best crew, and I'm so proud of every last one of you. And I'm also thankful and appreciative that you guys took the night before Thanksgiving to give us some of your time to entertain our viewers as well. So great job, guys. I hope everybody out there has a wonderful Thanksgiving. Enjoy family, food. Be careful out there. And as I said before, last night, I have a philosophy that I like from Morris and Cat. Morris had 9 lives. We have to make the most of the one that we have. So with that said, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
I hope our predictions are right. Otherwise, it is what it is. But meanwhile, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. And we will catch you back next week on the Sports Exchange /Pundit. Meanwhile, have a great Thanksgiving holiday weekend. Please be safe, everybody. Good night now.
Night.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Good night.
Happy Thanksgiving.